seated and have a roll call, please.
James T. Cobb.
Here.
Gregory Dyer.
Here.
Freddie Gray.
Here.
Stephen Rachel Hart.
Here.
Jimmy Hester.
Here.
Henry Jackson.
Here.
Bob Johnson.
Here.
Robert Kirby. Mark Horn.
Here.
Terry Wright.
Here.
Tanya C. Fuller McKellar. Steve Morris.
Here.
Pam Newell. Kim Peckinpah.
Here.
Rebecca Robertson.
Here.
Steve Sargent. Larry Shulker.
Here.
Doug Singletary.
Here.
Johnny Udall.
Here.
Greg Destiny.
Here.
County Mayor David Quick.
Here. There are no public comments tonight, so I'll ask everyone to stand. Harold Davis will lead us in prayer, and Hunter Jackson will lead us in the prayer. Pledge.
Father, we thank you for this day, the many blessings you bestowed upon us. Lord, we thank you most of all for the cross of Calvary, Lord, that you give your Son for the remission of our sins. Lord, I pray that you be with this group of leaders tonight, Lord, as they conduct county business. Lord, I just pray that you would give them wisdom and knowledge of what to do, and Lord, that all things that we do glorify you, and that we do what's best for the county. Lord, we just thank you for allowing us to live and work in this place, and Lord, for the many blessings you bestowed upon us. Lord, we ask all these blessings in your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated, please. Adoption order of business. Have a motion, second from Hunter. Any discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Reading of the minutes of the August 14th COB meeting.
Mayor, I move we accept them without reading.
Have a motion to accept them as written. Do I hear a second? Any corrections or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carried. Turn the floor to Mayor Quick.
All right, it's time of the year that we elect our chair. The election of the COB chair to a one-year term. Currently serving is Mr. John Utendahl. Do I hear any nominations for the chair?
Mayor, I'd like to nominate John Utendahl.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, none, then we call that.
I move back, elect by acclamation.
Okay, yes, sir.
Second.
Second that. Okay. Any other discussion on that? That means no vote, or y'all want to vote?
Well, you can say all in favor.
All in favor? All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All opposed?
Aye.
John, you're our chair.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, the election of the vice chair. Floor is now open for nominations. Thank you, Jim.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Davy Bradshaw Hart.
All right. Any other nominations?
Move nomination cease, be elected by acclamation.
Have a motion to elect Debbie Bradshaw Hart by acclamation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations again, Debbie. Next, I'd like to recognize Mayor Quick again.
At this time, I'd like to recommend appointment to Mr. Tom White of Finley down there to the Dyersburg Suburban Consolidated Water District, known as DSCUD, or DSCUD. This time,
Our man passed away.
pardon?
Man passed away there.
Yes, Mr. Bill Clark passed away, so he's taking his bill.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation of the mayor. Motion to approve would be in order.
I make a motion.
Second. Any questions, any discussion? All those in favor of approving the appointment of Tom White to the Dyersburg Suburban Consolidated Utility District Board, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next, I'd like to recognize Chair of the Budget Committee, David Bradshaw Hart.
We have just a few transfers tonight, and then at the end we will discuss discuss the resolution regarding the IDB with the spec building. The first one is for the property assessor, supplemental pay for staff member awarded professional appraisal certification. Funding is provided by the state of Tennessee in the amount of $1,000. The second one, Fund 127, courthouse renovations, engineering costs for the exterior and interior in the amount of $200,000. The third is the Sheriff's Department E911 reimbursement for $5,083. And the fourth one is for the jail commissary supplement in the amount of $12,000. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve these transfers.
Have a motion on the floor, do I hear a second?
Second.
James Cobb. Any questions? Discussion. If you're in favor of the resolution transferring funds for the property assessor, courthouse renovation, sheriff, and the jail, say yes when your name is called. If you're opposed, say no. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Steve Ray.
Yes.
Brandon Dyer.
Yes.
Bradley Gray.
Yes.
Debbie Gray Hart.
Yes.
Kenny Hester.
Yes.
Earl Jackson.
Yes.
Bob Johnson.
Yes.
Mark Gold.
Yes.
Gary McCray.
Yes.
Steve Moore.
Yeah.
Kim Peckinpah.
Yes.
Deborah Robertson. Yes. Mary Schauber.
Yes.
Doug Singletary.
Yes.
John Morrow.
Yes.
Craig Festus.
Yes.
Vote is 6 in the affirmative, none in the negative, motion passes. Judy, back to you.
Yes, sir. The next thing we have on the agenda, the Budget Committee met, and we have approved and are recommending to you to support the spec building for Dyer County, Dyersburg Chamber of Commerce, and I have asked Slater Barr, President and CEO of the Chamber, to come and speak to all of us and just let you know what is going on, and I think it's a wonderful thing for us to be having to happen here in our area. Slater?
Thank you. I thought what I would do is just take you through, I put together this little handout, I called it Rationale for Spec Building, and it summarized my thoughts on why I think this would make sense at this time for Dyer County. So let's just go down through the items very quickly. We're seeing a lot of activity related to Blue Oval City, automotive suppliers that are evaluating locations. Blue Oval City has been under construction for some time now. And the thing that you have to realize about automotive plants is that an automotive plant doesn't exist and operate by itself. It is a system of the main plant and all the suppliers that have to feed it parts and materials that go into that final assembly of that vehicle. And so I don't really know what it is for an electric vehicle, but for a combustion engine plant, there's typically 200 suppliers that are required in order to feed that plant, all the different parts and equipment that they need. Some are tier 1 suppliers, meaning they have to be located almost, some are even located within the plant, but they're located right there, really close to the. Others are tier 2 and are further away, and then others are tier 3 that are even further away. But we have a location that I think we're well suited to attract 1 or 2 suppliers to that plant. We've got the transportation crossroads. We have infrastructure. Dyersburg, because of the closure of Dyersburg Fabrics some years ago, has almost 6 million gallons per day of excess wastewater treatment capacity. That's very unusual in this region. And so what I think is going to happen is that at some point, in order for Blue Oval City to be operational, those suppliers have to be operational to feed it. And so I suspect this is part of the rationale behind the state's thought on trying to encourage spec buildings, is to create a speed. Looking ahead, they're like, okay, we're going to have to do something to help these companies move quicker and locate quicker. So I think that if we had a spec building, that could create a significant competitive advantage for us. The site we're looking at is if you look on the back side of this sheet, you'll see the Commerce Park Interstate site, which is 67 acres that was originally purchased. It's titled in the city, but it was purchased through a joint, basically 50-50 partnership between the city and the county, both putting in those dollars. Since that time, it has been certified, which means it's gone through all the vetting. It has all the environmental studies. It has all the topographic studies, the soil borings, everything that needs to be done in order to certify that it's a legitimate industrial site. And last year, this body helped us by pursuing an InvestPrep grant from TVA to create a 200,000 square foot pad, flat pad on the site, again, in order to get it further along the road and to make it quicker to develop. At the same time, the city pursued a grant of almost the same amount, of almost $500,000, to extend utilities to the site. So all that, there's been almost $1 million worth of improvements made to this site within the past year. And that's relevant that it's a certified site, and we'll get to that in a second. We've checked on just ballpark figure of what the estimated cost for a 100,000 square foot speculative building on our site would be. It's about $6 million, $60 a square foot. That gets you 3 walls that are tilt-up construction, 1 wall that's metal, so expandable in one direction, no floor. Let's see, what else? Tilt up 3 sides, expandable on one side, no floor, yes. And since we already have a pad, and some of the foundational costs are not relevant to us. So as I said, we've already have some experience with this program in this past year. In fact, we just closed out the last site development grant, which is from ECD. And as I said, that was for almost $500,000 to extend utilities. On July 17th, ECD announced a substantial expansion of this program. And the big changes that they made were that the grant maximum increased from $1 million to $5 million. Furthermore, for certain sites, they have reduced the match requirement by the local community. So because we've had this site certified, because it's been through the InvestPrep process, typically for a Tier 2 county, the match requirement is 30%. But because we've been through that process, it's reduced in half to 15% is our match requirement for the site development grant. And then the big change, speculative buildings are now eligible. Never have been eligible before. So every spec building that's been in this community before, the community carried the whole load, the whole weight. They have a requirement that it must be a minimum of 100,000 square feet, expandable to 200,000 square feet, which seems to fit very, very well with our 200,000 square foot pad. So, if the building is $6 million, then, and you're applying for a $5 million grant, and that means the community has to come up with $1 million. That's 16.67% of the total, which means we're over the threshold of the 15% match requirement. What we have talked about is pulling together a consortium of local economic development allies, running this grant through the Industrial Development Board, with them putting in $200,000, with the city putting in $300,000, with Dyer County putting in $300,000, and Dyersburg Electric System putting in $200,000. Now, what this does for us, and the big change that I think it makes from previous efforts, is it basically takes the debt service out of the equation. You're fronting the cost, spreading the risk between those 4 entities, coming up with $1 million, so you don't have that debt payment that is due every month, right? Your ongoing costs are probably, you probably need the IDB will probably need a line of credit because this grant is reimbursable. You have to pay your vendor first, you have to pay the contractor first, and then get reimbursed. So as those payments come in, the IDB will have to make those payments and submit them, proof of payment back to ECD in order to get it reimbursed. So they'll probably need some type of line of credit in order to be able to do that. But other than that, your ongoing costs are probably limited, I think. Insurance occurred to me, electric service for lights and air movement, there are probably more that I haven't thought about, but they're going to be minimal in the scope of this project. And as somebody said earlier, every spec of the building, I think there's been 3 over the history of this community, and all 3 have eventually located an industry. So what we're proposing is that the IDB be the applicant. After, hopefully, the building sells, then whatever they're able to recover from that goes back to the IDB. That's their funds. They pay back the city, they pay back the county, they pay back the Dyersburg electric system. And then whatever it remains from that total, then that basically creates a revolving economic development fund for them to do future site development or future business development. So that's the concept that we came up with. That's what we want to propose and present to you. And I'll be glad to take any questions that anybody might have.
Anyone have any questions, Mr. Slater?
Okay, so the 67 acres is, we're only gonna have one building there.
That's correct.
So that goes the whole 67 acres. We won't, that's gonna take up the whole 67. We can't build it, anything else on that, or am I?
It depends on the project.
Okay, so.
You know, I wouldn't anticipate it,
Okay,
but it very well could be.
okay.
100,000 square feet doesn't take up
That's correct.
nearly all that site,
That's-
you know. But if it goes to 200, we have laid out as much as 600,000 square feet on that site, and you're starting to max it out at around there.
Okay, I just thought you might put a couple more buildings out there.
Possible. You know, but I mean, you just don't know.
Yeah,
It may be somebody that has
buildings
outside
already.
storage, or
Yeah,
you just don't know.
But it depends on where you build, have you decided to site, actual site on the lot?
Yes, because it's,
I mean, if you're gonna build on the front, then there's room at the back. If you build in the middle, then you're not gonna build anything else on it.
well, it's,
That's what I'm.
you've got a pad. And if you look at this aerial photo, you can kind of see the outline of where the, you know, that would be the lower right. As you're looking at that drawing, you can kind of see that outline of a square. That's where the 200,000 square foot pad is.
It's kind of in between the 2 ponds.
So it takes up pretty much the whole site.
I think you could probably get, I mean, it's a little distorted when you do an oblique picture like this at that angle. There's a good bit of room behind it towards the interstate, and then there's a good bit of room to the left. Let's see, that would be north, that would be on the east side, right?
Anyone else have any questions, Slater? No?
When will the grants be awarded?
So they haven't listed an exact date, but it will be in December. Hold on a second. Yeah, here we go. So the timetable, my final application is due October 13th. And then, you know, if you make the short list and you're invited to make a presentation, that would happen in November. And then announcements occur sometime in December.
Can I answer your question, Doc?
Yes.
All right. Anyone else have anything?
Is this all contingent on whether that grant goes through and everybody else votes their
Yeah,
part in it?
grant don't go through.
What about has the city of Dyersburg voted on this to pass? that?
Yes.
And
So
they-
the city of Dyersburg has adopted their resolution, the IDB has adopted their resolution. It's to this body next, and then I think Dyersburg Electric meets the third Wednesday. I believe that's when their board meets. I may be wrong on that, but.
We all did meet together, and they all are in agreement, to put the money in.
Now, I mean, there is a possibility that we apply for this grant and they come back and go, hey, we'll do 3 million. We won't do 5 million. I mean, that's a possibility. If that happens, then we'll just have to kind of pull everybody together and make some decisions about, well, is that something you still want to do or not? But we will not move forward without
Look like
approval.
state's trying to encourage us to get ready.
I've got a question. Where does the IDB get its funding from? It's putting in 200,000, where does it get its funding?
So the IDB, I don't know how long ago it was. They've never really had any money to be able to do anything like this. But some years ago, well, let me back it up. The primary role that they have served in the past has been to be the conduit for pilots, that payment in lieu of taxes where you provide, tax savings to a prospective industry that is agreeing that we're going to create this many jobs, we're going to do this much capital investment. And then if the city and county kind of agree, then the IDB would be the conduit to do these pilots and offer them tax savings. Some years ago, they adopted a fee for that so that they would have a little bit of money to work with. And over those years now, it has built up to something in excess of $200,000. So that's what they're putting in.
Anyone else?
Ms. David, can you explain where the money's coming from and how we have it, why we have it?
Sure.
That's what folks wanna know.
Thank you, Slaughter. Appreciate it.
Yes, that's one thing that was obviously a concern, what we do. We have the CARES Act money, which we received in 2020, 21, I believe. We have 1.4 million there, and the Budget Committee over the past year and a half, we have been anticipating this coming, knowing that we could use these funds for this. That money could not be used to balance the budget or to pay for recurring expenses. So, but we knew we had this money if we needed it for industrial development, and that's where our plan is to use this money. And of course, at this point, it's 300,000. We thought if we had to help buy property, it would be 3 times that much, but we're not looking at that right now. Does that answer, Todd? Anything else you think of? Okay. Yes, sir.
How much of the CARES Act money do we have left after we bought, the church and this and
The
other?
CARES Act money is separate from the ARP. We have 1.4 million in the ARP money, in the CARES Act money, and we still have the hospital property tax that was paid that's still saved, the 316.
Any other questions? Debbie, I don't think we've ever made a motion, but.
No, sir.
It'd be appropriate.
It would be at this point now, if nobody has any other questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution regarding the spec building for Dyer County.
A motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? If you're in favor of the resolution regarding our participation in Industrial Development Board projects, say yes when your name is called. If you're opposed, say no. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
James T. Buttercott,
Yes.
Brandon Dodds,
Yes.
Randy Gray,
Yes.
Debbie Bradshaw Hart,
Yes.
Jimmy Hester,
Yes.
Hunter Jackson,
Yes.
Bob Johnson,
Yes.
Robert Kirby, Mark Horn,
Yes.
Terry McCray,
Yes. Yes.
Steve Moore,
Yes.
Kim Peckinpah,
Yes.
Deborah Robertson. Yes. Larry Schulman,
Yes.
Doug Singletary,
Yes.
John Udendahl,
Yes.
Greg Destiny.
Yes.
Vote 16 in affirmative, none in negative. Appreciate you, Debbie.
Thank you,
Appreciate you,
Mr. Chairman.
Slater, for showing up tonight and helping us. Next, I'd like to recognize Chair of the Law Enforcement Committee, Kim Peckinpah.
25th, the Law Enforcement Committee met. We unanimously appointed a temporary 5-member Plan of Action Oversight Committee. Consists of Mayor Quick, Sheriff Box, Lieutenant Marjorie, Commissioner Kirby, that's a Law Enforcement Committee member, and Commissioner Singletary, that's a non-Law Enforcement Committee member. This committee will begin meeting with the TCI, which is the Tennessee Correctional Institute, in mid-September, and go through all options what is best for our jail, such as overcrowding, women's reentry, compliance issues, plan of action. They will report back to the Law Enforcement Committee with the options, hopefully at a meeting tentatively set for October 27th. That may rush them, but we do have a meeting tentatively set for that. I'd like to make a motion that we have this 5-member committee approved.
Any questions? Or, excuse me, motion, second from Mark. Yeah, open for questions or discussion. If not, all those in favor of the resolution appointing the Law Enforcement Oversight Committee, Mayor Quick, Sheriff Fox, Alan Marjorie, Robert Kirby, Doug Singletary, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you, Jack. Any old business to be brought forward the COV? Any new business? Yes, sir. Okay, we'll be comments in a second. Any unfinished business? Call the district, Madam Clerk, read the names, please.
Taylor Ray Edelman, Brenda Enix, Emma Madison Hogan, Daniel Ron Mobley, Vicki Moody, Angela Taylor, Taylor Walker, Nicole Webb, Deborah Welch, and Bill Miller.
Motion approved, these numbers have been in order.
So moved.
Any questions or discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Any announcements?
The community cancer barbecue is, gonna be Friday, October 13th. There are several people selling butts and barbecue. Maloney, Miss Deborah selling those, and also t-shirts. So if anybody would like to buy butts or bologna or a t-shirt, please get with Miss Deborah.
Thank you. And then that's October the 13th. What day is that?
Friday.
It's a Friday.
Friday. Great. Okay. Sure, go ahead.
That'll be our centennial meeting that weekend, so,
That's right.
there's some literature that'll come out on that, some advertisements that Rachel will have and all of us, and, we just hope everybody participates in that and enjoys it, and has a good time. We'll have several events. We have one on the 13th, the 15th, the 16th.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, for all of us.
On behalf of the Dyer County Fair Association, we want to say thank you to the community support that we had this past week. We had one of the biggest fairs we've had in quite some time, and we're proud of our fair, and just want to say thank you to everybody.
Good job. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate you. We have the county, the COV, has a association of all the other COVs in the state, and they're doing the regional meetings that happen every year. The one for us will be in Jackson on October the 2nd. That's a Monday, I believe James says. And we will meet here. It starts at 5:30. Registration starts at 5:30. We'll meet out here outside the courthouse around 4:30. Anybody wants to share rides or go in a caravan or whatever. If you've never been to one, we're going to encourage you to go. That's where you see other commissioners and get to swap stories with them on a local level.
And our executive director will be there, Charlie, if you haven't met Charlie.
If you haven't met Charlie Curtis,
He's worth the trip.
he is worth the trip. He's an icon. Is he not? He is. Any questions about the association meeting? I was also asked to report, I heard some rumors before the meeting started about a rezoning request in the